Let's be real. For most people, the dentist sits somewhere between tax audits and accidentally running into your ex at Target while holding a family-sized bag of Cheetos they know is just for you. Well, let's change that right now. Hi, I'm Sandy Bobal Zuniga, the founder of Colorado Springs Town Tidings. Be in the know on the go for all things Colorado Springs, delivered right to your inbox. Today, I'm chatting with Dr. Julia Rohleder, owner of the Downtown Dentist. For 18 years, she's been transforming dental visits from dreaded appointments to personal experiences. With cutting edge technology and a focus on the whole person, she's turned countless hesitant smiles into confident ones across our community. Welcome to the show, Dr. Julia.
Thank you.
I'm happy to have you. So I am curious, who are you? Where'd you come from? And how are you connected to the community? And why dentistry of all things?
Well, I'm a military brat, and my dad was in the Air Force, and we moved here when I was in between my sophomore and junior year of high school, and so I graduated from Rampart. I went back to Illinois for dental school and my undergrad and all of that, and then I came back here in 2000. I was an associate dentist, worked for other people for about 7 years, and decided to open my own practice downtown. The thought was there weren't any dentists accepting patients downtown, and people had to leave downtown and go way up north just to get their teeth cleaned. And you got to take off half a day to do that. And so, we were catering to people who were already working downtown. Now, it'll be actually 19 years in April. Um, Back then, there wasn't near as much activity as there is now
Right.
in downtown. So now we've got a lot more people working and living there, um, which is great. I love downtown. I kind of ran out of space after a while, and this opportunity came up to buy a second practice off of Wilmette, which is only a few minutes from my other place. Um, the advantage of, or the nice part about, I mean, I ran out of space. I don't have an office over that private office or anything over there. And we also, like I said, we were catering to people who were already downtown and they didn't need a parking spot. And now, after so many years, people have moved and, work from home. And so over here at Willamette, I have a parking lot.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. So, this location has actually had dental practices in it since the 50s.
Oh, wow.
So, and I suspect that this is probably like the longest inhabited or contiguously inhabited dental building. I don't know if that's how you say that, but in the city, because like I said, 70 years. Um, I was just thinking about that the other day. So,
So you
and
took that
the
one
last,
over.
what's that?
So you took that location over.
Yeah, yeah. The dentist, Dr. Wagle, was the previous owner, and he came here in the 80s to this location, and so he just recently retired, and he graciously let me buy his practice, and I really appreciate him for that.
Right.
So.
Right. Great. So you were at Rampart High, and then you decided, teeth are interesting. Let's go into that.
Oh yeah, how do I? So when I was trying to figure out, when I was in school, what did I want to do? I did some shadowing and I thought about I thought of several different things actually: physical therapist, occupational therapist, environmental science, naturopathic doctor. And I shadowed a couple of those things, and which I strongly encourage anybody who is trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, like go shadow and see.
Right.
The environmental scientist thing I thought was so cool, and trudged through 6 inches of mud on the banks of the Mississippi counting tree saplings, and I was like, nah, not for me. And my dad suggested, what about dentistry? And so I volunteered at the dental clinic at the Air Force Academy. And I thought, well, this looks like fun. So, and my siblings and I, we always loved going to the dentist. And um,
That's funny because I haven't always, but it's not because of the actual work. It was the actual dentists themselves that I didn't care for. But yeah, I don't have that fear at all. It's just like, oh, I'm getting my teeth clean. It's 6 months or whatever, and
right.
and freshen up the smile and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, cool. Of course, I don't like it when we have to get crowns and
Right.
root canals and things, which unfortunately had been part of my path. But one of the things happened was when I was in college, I wound up getting, I think it was at least 5 or 6 cavities at once. And I went back home and our family dentist said, oh, we can't do this. And I had a short break. And then I
Oh,
had to go down and I was like 1,000 miles away. And I'm like, we can't do it because we can't do up and top and
oh,
bottom the Novocaine. And I said, well, I have a short time. Don't use Novocaine. And they're,
oh,
what? Well, from that point on, because before he would go in and I would push his hand away. And so we had a bad relationship. So I'm like,
yeah.
just don't use it, get it done. And I had not used Novocaine for any fillings, crowns, or
Really?
anything since. And I'm fine with it. I have a high pain tolerance, but it's just like, get it done. And that's it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm less cranky without Novocaine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense, to be honest. Sometimes, our anesthetics can make you feel kind of crummy. There's epinephrine in them, it gives you a little adrenaline rush, and sometimes it make people jittery or give them a headache and can actually increase the anxiety. So I got
But
a few patients who prefer no anesthetic. So, and
yeah,
you can, adjust your technique so that
right.
it doesn't hurt them.
Yep. And I have just a way I process pain in general. So that's what I do. And I won't take up the time with what that is. But back then in the 80s, and so even before that, and then like in the 90s, dentists were filling our teeth with mercury, the amalgam, whatever you call it,
Amalgam. Hmm.
amalgam. Um, I felt like, and this is going to date me, but the James Bond Jaws, that character, and he
Yeah,
had all these metal teeth and
right.
stuff, and I'm like, oh, it looks horrible. But not only that, I have an issue with that filling in general. So over the years, having to get them changed or crowns because they filled so much of the teeth, and
Right,
it's like, okay, well, they're going to start breaking and
right,
decades later and stuff. So, what is your thoughts on that? And I'm sure you get people coming in with the same issue.
right. Um, so amalgam is a generic term for a mixture of metals. And that mixture has changed over time based on what's cheap. They've taken a lot of the copper out, the nickel. They used to use nickel, and everybody's allergic to that. There's not much mercury in them anymore. The Now the research that goes into the metal fillings is trying to prove that they're bad. And the research into the tooth colored fillings is trying to improve them. I don't believe that a metal filling is going to kill you or cause you serious harm. I do think, though, that there's a better material. Even when you think about old crowns, the materials are more aesthetic now. One of the biggest advantages, I think, of tooth colored fillings is that you don't have to take so much tooth structure away. You bond them to the tooth, whereas with the metal filling, you had to prepare the tooth so it grabbed it in and was impact resistant. Well, you had to take out a lot more tooth structure in order to do that. The
Uh,
other thing too is there's a lot of research coming out on these metal fillings that, because it's metal, they expand and contract with heat and cold and can cause tooth fractures.
right.
Um, But I don't really do them. I actually, I didn't even have it in the office, but then I bought this old practice, and there's all kinds of treasures in here, that you haven't seen in decades. So I just think there are better materials out there, to be honest.
Right. Well, I definitely know that, some people say, oh, they're not harmful. They're contained and stuff. They do leach out onto the other teeth that are right near there. I've
Right. You can
seen it,
stain
and
them, and
and
yeah,
it'll stain like if you have to have night guards and things like that. And I'm
right.
like, that
Yeah,
is definitely leaching out.
right.
So if somebody needs to or wants to either change it out or they have to get a crown or something like that, do you in your practice, because you're a holistic dentist, um,
Well,
or
I wouldn't say I'm a holistic dentist. I
okay,
do believe that dentistry in general, there is a big holistic component to it. When you think about a mouth, right? If, um, you really can tell if somebody's sick or not. People who have a ton of health issues tend to have worse teeth, right? Um, I think that when you are keeping things clean, it really does, make a difference. There's an old study from the Mayo Clinic from the 50s that talks about different things that increase your longevity, right? And flossing your teeth every day on average helped you live 10 years longer, more than running and exercising and eating right. They haven't done that study since, but so it's kind of a standalone thing. But having a healthy mouth does make a difference. Um, I think that, when we talk about gum disease a lot, or even gingivitis, right? That's a bacterial infection in your mouth. And you want to keep the good bacteria up and the bad bacteria down, right? Um, so I do think, as a whole, I think that dentistry is very holistic. I mean, that's my
right.
opinion. But there isn't really a designation for holistic dentist or even cosmetic dentist, we can kind of
So
call ourselves.
but you take the whole person in general, not just the mouth, or you see things from the mouth that could cause other issues.
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, one of the things like with COVID, one of the risk factors as far as if you were more likely to die of COVID was if you had periodontal disease. There are a lot of connections, but, study after study shows that if you have gum disease, that it causes low birth weight babies. You're constantly swallowing and inhaling all those germs, and it can cause problems with your heart and your lungs. When you talk about plaques in the arteries, right? Well, the bacteria that's in those plaques in your arteries is the same in your mouth as the same as a plaque in your mouth. So, there's an undeniable connection as far as overall health. If you're a diabetic, it has um, you really need to treat a little more aggressively as far as the type of cleaning that you do and whether you decide to watch or yeah, we better not watch this. You're going to lose a tooth real quickly. Um, you got to think about if people are immunocompromised, that really does change how you're going to treat people. And so I do think, I mean, obviously, I think it's important, right? But
Well,
and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. You might want to edit this out. It even can cause erectile dysfunction
oh, that's okay. We can keep it in.
for all those men out there or their wives or
I
friends,
did not
whatever.
know that. I had no
You might
idea
want
there
to
was
cut
a
that part
connection.
out.
So now you don't have to go check your testosterone right away or get the blue pill. Go get a cleaning, the dental cleaning first.
Well, I don't know that I'd go that far. There definitely is, it's a major piece of being healthy,
Right,
overall.
right.
It's real important. And a lot of this stuff, people are like, it's hard in dentistry and it's, there's a lot of hate for us, you know. I know you guys like us, but you don't like what we do, right? There's a lot that you can do on your own as far as just keeping things clean in there, you know, especially in between your teeth. People don't realize how important it is to clean in between your teeth. So,
Right. So what can they do at home?
well, just like I said, you know, brushing and flossing regularly and mainly getting in between the teeth, getting underneath the gums a little bit when you're flossing or picking down in, you know, they're these little soft pick things. And I love
Yes,
those things. They're like soft ended toothpicks and you can kind of clean in between, but cleaning in between is important. And getting that, you know, tongue scraper is a nice one.
yes,
Um,
tongue scrapers for sure. I don't know what the heck happens with that tongue, but I'm like, what the heck?
I know it's kind of nasty,
It
right? Sometimes,
is.
yeah. Especially if your mouth is real dry or you've had it cold, that kind of thing. It's like, whoa.
Exactly. What do
Don't
you
smell
think?
it.
Exactly. Well, I know they have those individual picks, like water
Yeah.
picks and stuff. Do you like those?
You know, I think that anything that you will use, if it, you know, I think you got to find something that's convenient and
Yeah,
that works in your hands and that, you know, that you're willing to use, you know. I mean, some
yeah.
you got big sausage hands, big fat fingers. You're gonna have to use different tools than if you have little dainty hands and have really great fine motor skills, right? So I think that we sometimes make it too hard, you know, you better brush and floss and um, it doesn't have to be first thing in the morning, last thing at night. Just get it done once in a 24-hour period and, you know, just disrupt that stuff. You don't want it hardening up because it's just a bunch of bacteria that hardens onto your tooth. So
Right.
um, I think that we make it seem like it's this big thing and just get in there and scrub around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got an electric toothbrush and I don't know how I did it without. And I'm one who I want to get it really clean and
Yeah.
so I'm pretty I think I made my gums recede because I was always a hard
Too hard.
brusher. So
Yeah.
now that I have the electric one,
Electric.
it's much better. And then I have this thing. It was as seen on TV, and yes, sometimes that happens. And it's a water pick flosser, but it does the whole front and back at the same time. So I
Oh,
just I just go on top and bottom,
okay.
and it's so easy. And I'm like, okay, that's good. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what do you think about? I know there's been studies about like xylitol and stuff
Mhm. Yeah.
that to help cleanse the mouth. What do you think
Right.
about that?
I think xylitol is great. I think that especially for people who have a dry mouth, I think it's great. Xylitol, so it's kind of the natural alternative to fluoride. Um, you know, the nice thing about fluoride is that you do, you know, one application really makes a big difference. With xylitol, you have to do it 5 or 6 times a day. So it's, you know, you're not going to get the same kind of benefit. But for people who have dry mouth, they have gums and mouthwashes and things like that that I think are really great for them because you can't be put fluoride all day long in your mouth. You know what I mean? But the xylitol, you can.
Right. And
So
so are you a advocate for fluoride?
I am, you know, I think that you're not going to find a study that says that it doesn't help keep your teeth longer. And bottom line, if you keep your teeth longer, you're gonna have a better quality of life like and you're gonna be healthier overall, right? I think that the studies that have shown that fluoride is not good are very flawed. They're anecdotal, and if you look at the samples that they took, um, you know, like there's a study that a lot of people cite nowadays about how it lowered the IQ. Well, if you look at the areas that they went into, um, they were, some of them were in third world countries where people were starving to death and couldn't and didn't have clean water. Well, you know, so you talk about IQ. those people didn't have a good education and had filthy water that had lead in it. You know what I mean? And so the studies are very flawed that are anti-fluoride. There just isn't a good solid study with a good sample size that had a good control group, that had a good a consistent, like the variables weren't right. You have to be real careful with research these days, because you can make that research say whatever you want. And oftentimes the research is not research that's done. It's looking at, 10 different articles, right? Well, these 10 different research projects, right? Well, these 10 different research projects may not have even had statistically significant results, right? Like if their sample sizes weren't correct, or, like all of those things. There are some consistent things that you need to have to make claims. And, nowadays you can kind of say whatever you want. And, you can say, oh, well, 5 people had this issue and they all did this. Well, that's 5 people. You cannot apply that to, a few billion people on the earth today. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So,
right.
I can tell you, so Colorado Springs was actually where they figured out that fluoride
I
did
know
help
that.
keep your teeth longer. And you can actually go to
But they were all brown.
right, Colorado brown stain, right? So in the Pioneer Museum, they have letters back and forth. There was a dentist in Boston and a dentist here, and the dentist in Boston said, how come Coloradans have all their teeth, but they're ugly, and Bostonians, they don't have any teeth? And they realized it was the fluoride in the water.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I did a trivia on that. I may have to do that for when I do your spotlight that week.
oh, yeah.
This way we can combine the two there.
Right.
So,
And let me say this. I think anything in moderation. Don't go crazy, man. Like, fluoride is a good thing. Now, you're going to sit there and eat a whole tube? Don't do that, right? You're going to get sick. I promise. You drink too much water, it'll kill you, right? So I think everybody has to be reasonable, whether it's with amalgams or cosmetics or fluoride, right? Or
right,
sugar or
right,
or meat, right? Like all of it. I think the fluoride thing's kind of gotten blown up, and it's a shame, because there are people out there. Not everybody comes in having a ton of cavities every
right,
year even, right? But there are some people who really do suffer with dental problems, and xylitol isn't going to do it, and the fluoride is going to be much more appropriate for those people as far as keeping their teeth long term.
huh, interesting.
So I think it is case by case, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I personally do fluoride treatment and I don't have any cavities. So,
There you go. Mine were all filled with all the amalgam and everything that I'm
right.
just a lost case in general. I'm just now, it's
Ah, you have
all,
beautiful teeth.
oh, thank you. It's all reactive now from that, but I'm
Right, right.
trying the best I can.
Well,
So,
I'll tell you, you're lucky that you have these issues in 2026,
yeah,
right?
for sure. I would have wooden teeth by now if it was back then, and I would not be
Or you would
smiling.
have died from a tooth infection, right? Like, I
That's,
mean, that's a real, you know,
yep,
real thing. But anyway,
absolutely.
that got a little dark. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll turn it around. So I love that you call it dentistry with the heart for your practice. So does that philosophy change how you hire your team or treat a patient who might be nervous or anything?
I think, as far as the culture of my practice, I have always tried to make sure that we are friendly and we do greet people. And, you try and remember, um, what specifically do they need? Like some people need a little pillow here, a little pillow there. Some people like their tissue in their hand, or, if their last time they came in, their dog was sick. Or I also think that you need to be patient and explain things to people and show them pictures. People get so scared.
Yes.
Part of that is because you don't know what the heck we're doing in there,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And And you just know it is uncomfortable and it's buzzing and there's a lot of stuff going on in there and you can't see any of it, right? And I think that if you kind of slow down and explain things, we have intraoral cameras where we take pictures. We have a scanner where, you can see your teeth coming together, how your teeth come together and things like that. And it also needs to be case by case, right? Like some people are of the mindset extract it. Like, I don't want to fix it. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't want to do it. Take it out. And then other people, they want everything. They want everything top notch. And, what is the best you can offer me? And then you got people in the middle who, everybody needs to chew, right?
Right.
And I think that you need to figure out like where are you at and what is it that how do you want to be treated?
Right. And what's your outcome, and you work with them, but that's one of the secrets when you said you show them and kind of let them know.
Mhm.
That's one of my secrets on how I am high pain tolerant. If I understand what you're doing and where
Mhm.
the pain is coming from, I can pretty much block it out. But if I am my brain is just going crazy and not knowing and coming up with its own
Right.
reasons for what, then
Right.
all bets are off. So
Right.
I love that approach that you have.
Yeah.
Let me show them, let me take them along, and that does decrease the fear. Now whether they're
Right.
pain tolerant or not, that doesn't matter, but the fear for it is you're letting them know. Now I assume some don't want to know anything.
Yeah. Right. I personally am that patient.
Really.
Please do it. Please. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to go to my happy place and I'll be in Hawaii. You let me know when you're done and I'll come
Right.
back.
Right. So we mentioned the holistic approach to care. We talked about that a little bit. So what are there any instances that you saw something in the mouth that turned into a bigger health issue for any of your patients?
Yeah, I think probably the most commonly one that we find is high blood pressure, right? I mean, some people have sky high blood pressure and it's like, oh, um, you need to go get this checked out. We can't even give you anesthetic today, right? I think that's probably the most common one. I mean, we always look for, like lumps and bumps and discolorations in the mouth as, for oral cancer and things like that. There are some blood disorders that you can, that have manifestations in the mouth, child development issues, that kind of stuff. Can bulimia, right? Eating disorders, that kind
Right.
of thing. Mineral deficiencies, people's mouths will tend to be real red. A big one now that at dentistry as a whole that we look at more is sleep apnea, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
man, a sleep apnea, if you can get a good night's sleep, have a better quality of life every single day, right? Sleep apnea has a lot of what we call comorbidities. So if you have sleep apnea, you're going to have heart problems and diabetes and, those kinds of issues. So that's another thing we look at. And we can do mouth appliances for the sleep apnea, which is real nice for people who can't tolerate the CPAPs.
Right.
So yeah, we do look for some of that stuff.
So how is the high blood pressure? Is that just because you take the blood pressure, or is there something in the mouth
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah. We take
shows?
the blood pressure and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's nothing other than the bumps and lumps and all that stuff. How would you know if somebody's got sleep apnea? Does it show in their teeth or their mouth?
It does. Yeah. So sleep apnea is when your soft palate comes down and your tongue comes up, blocks off that airway, right? So when that happens, you lose some tonicity in that soft palate, right? Like it doesn't stick up, it falls down. And your tongue is a muscle, right? So your tongue will get really big and your body fights to wake you up,
Right.
right? You're oxygen deprived, your body's fighting to wake you up. And so you'll grind your teeth like crazy. So people tend to have really flat
Oh, okay.
um, uh, teeth. And, one of the easiest ways is we have them open up, stick their tongue out and say, ah, and if you see a black hole back there, then you're good. If you don't see a black hole back there, because the tongue is so high and the roof of your mouth is so low, then it's like, okay, you know what? You need to go see your doc and um, get checked for sleep apnea.
Right.
So
And then if they have it, do you have them come back and try an appliance first from you if they choose that route?
yeah, yeah. Generally, they want you to try the CPAP first. But I'll tell you, even kids have sleep apnea. I
Really?
mean, yeah, that's one of those things that, um, yeah, kids get it. If your kid's like always falling asleep, or if your kid is a snorer, or, um, you know, big, thick tonsils back there, and they probably aren't breathing well.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that one is kind of, you don't get a lot of training in it. Even traditional health, traditional family doctors and internists and stuff, you just don't get a lot of training in that one. So dentists are suited to look at that stuff because we're looking in your mouth and there's a whole
Right.
lot of signs there, right? I mean, you
Right.
may find the comorbidities outside, but you look in their mouth, oh, maybe it's something to do with this, right?
Right. So,
And again, prevention, you talk about holistic ideals, and if you can prevent some of this stuff from getting so bad, man, you know, it makes a huge difference.
yeah,
So,
just in your overall health. So that's,
yeah.
again, that's another reason why I do love dentists when
Mhm.
I find the right ones and you work together. And like I said, the health of your mouth, like we both said, is directly relates to your overall health. So
Right,
if
right.
that's not there, I don't envy you guys in general. Once I think about that, like the hygienist and
Mhm.
having to clean teeth and stuff. This is the job I would not ever want. I mean, you got smokers and all kinds of people coming in and who knows what and God bless you. I'm just
I love being a dentist. I really, yeah, you asked me what made me want to become a dentist, and I had some criteria. I wanted to work with people. I didn't want to be on the computer all day. I wanted to be able to further my education if I got bored. I wanted to be able to control my schedule. There were things like that. I wanted to be my own boss, that kind of thing. And I think dentistry is great. I think it's super fun. I think, we have lasers and scanners and, we can mill crowns and, so we have all of our toys and,
right.
it's kind of like arts and crafts if we could build up a tooth. And I think it's a whole lot of fun. I
Yep.
do, and maybe part of that's because, so I'm private practice, I own the whole thing. I'm to the point where I'm thinking about having somebody buy in, trying to find the right person, um, versus corporate dentistry, which is a different ball game. It's really kind of production driven, and because of that, and I don't think it's bad. I think there's a place for all of us, to be
Right.
honest with you. I just think that it's tough, like for people who are afraid and maybe need a little bit more empathy and consideration. You know what I mean? The pace is different in a private practice versus
For sure.
um, a corporate deal. The other thing too is that there is value for sticking with the dentist for a long time.
Yes.
Um, sometimes I think that some places you go and it's like if they didn't do the filling, they're going to redo it. Well, if we live to 100 and you touch that tooth every year or every 2 years, it's just not going to last you a lifetime. You know what I mean? And I think that you really need to be careful and, um, you know, use some good clinical judgment. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And so when it's a consistent dentist and they see you all the time, they're already familiar with your teeth, what they've done and what we walked in with. So
Right, right,
that's real, the
right,
consistency helps.
right,
And yeah, that's why I love having a good relationship with my
right,
dentist and have that long term for
right.
sure.
And while I'm going to present, while I may know this person isn't gonna, they want minimal, they probably want to extract it, um, they can't afford it, whatever, they are on a fixed income, that kind of thing. It's just their value system is different. I'm still going to present, you know, the spectrum of things, all of their choices that we can do, but I'm certainly not going to make them feel bad if that's their decision. You know what I mean?
Right,
If they want to do something that maybe I wouldn't do in my own mouth, right?
right.
Because I'm totally a tooth person, right?
No,
But I
I hear
wouldn't
you.
judge them for, you got to meet people where they're at, and you need to take care of them, right?
Right.
Not just this right here.
Yeah, sure. So when I looked at your website, I noticed your list of services is pretty extensive. Do you
Yeah,
try do you try and keep most of your procedures in-house so patients don't have to drive all over town for referrals, which
yeah.
I've had to do and I don't like it.
You don't like it? I think I have a good network of specialists, right? I think that if I can do something as good as fast as, with the same outcome as a specialist, then I'll do it. But if I think the specialist can do it better than me, I am not that proud. And it is more important that you get top-notch treatment. You know what I'm saying? Oftentimes people are like, oh, root canals, they always fail. I got these specialists that I use that use microscopes and lasers, and they have equipment that would not be practical for a general dentist, certain imaging machines. Um, and I think that, I mean, I wouldn't send you to an endodontist that wasn't doing some really high end stuff because the outcomes are better and longer lasting,
Right.
right? And I do think, you got to think about these teeth over, if somebody's going to live to 100, right? How do we want to deal with this? How do we manage it so that they can keep it as long as possible? Now, obviously, I can't control
Right.
all of it, right? Unfortunately, I so wish I could, right? But I do think, I mean, I do have a really good network of specialists where, if I think, oh man, they need to get this done right away, I can call and say, hey, can you get
Right.
them in today? Like they need to be seen right now. So I think I do, we can do a lot of stuff, but again, I think you got to know what you're good at, and you got to know when someone else does it better than you. And that
Right.
doesn't mean you're bad, but I almost think it's more important to know what you're not as good at. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. So I did see, so you go ahead and make crowns in house.
We do, yeah. Yep.
So that's one thing you don't have to send us out for.
Right, right. I still sometimes, if it's a real aesthetic thing, if we're doing a front tooth and we need a custom shade, I got a lab that this lady's got, decades of experience matching the teeth, and and for a front tooth, that's really important, right?
Yes.
And so again, I want the best outcome, right? And if that means that it's in somebody else's hands, well, then I want them to do that for us, right? But the mill, yeah, it's great. It's nice because so the way we used to do it, we would prepare the tooth and put a temporary on, take an impression. Then you come back in a couple few weeks, and if it doesn't fit, all right, let's take another impression. Let's do it again, another couple few weeks. Well, there are a few problems with that. Um, or let me tell you the advantages of using the scanner and the mill. So it's a same day crown. We use a scanner and we take a digital impression, so no goo. Um, it's usually about a 2 hour appointment. It takes us about 45 minutes to an hour to actually mill the crown, to fabricate the crown. Um, a couple of nice things when you have, again, bacteria, right? If you have a temporary on there and it's not sealed up, you get bacteria under there and you can have more sensitivity, right? The other thing too is we're going to say, hey, bite down, grind around, right in your face. How about now? How does it feel? We haven't been biting on this because we told you to stay away from it for 2, 3 weeks, right? You don't know how it feels.
Yep.
And so when it's not out of the mouth as long, I think that we get a better bite.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah,
Because
it
it hadn't been
makes
out
sense
that
to
long and
me.
you're like, oh yeah.
Right. exactly. And when you bite down, when you guys ask us to and have the little paper thing or whatever, it's not our natural bite in
Right.
general. It's
Yeah.
like you're trying to fit in there, but when you go home and actually eat something,
Right.
it's
You
like,
relaxed.
wait a second, that's a little
Right. Yeah. That's so weird.
bit.
Yeah.
So
So,
what other things do you have in there? So I know endodontist was on your list, but I assume that's one you
we
have a
do
referral.
some. I mean, like I said, we do some of that, but that's one that, on molar teeth, um, people will disagree with me on this, but I do think that those endodontists, or at least the groups I'm using anyway, um, and even I've had patients, if they're out of state or whatever and have an emergency, I'm like, all right, let me look and see, and I'll check their websites and look for the kind of technology they have. Because I think with root canals, technology is really does give you an advantage as far as the outcomes.
Yep.
But some of the other things that we do, one of the things that I think is super fun, one of my favorite things to do are the clear aligners. Um, I did Invisalign. I've been doing Invisalign like 25 years. I just switched to a different company. It's nice. Now they have competitors. Back
Right.
25 years ago, it was the only company out there, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know, one of the things you talk about you like holistic dentistry, and I think this really is something that is aligned with that. If you have straight teeth, the forces are better. You can clean them better. They're not going to harbor the same bacteria. You're not going to get the same kind of bone loss. Um, I think that I see patients sometimes, and I'm like, man, had they had corrected their bites, 20 years ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. They wouldn't have this issue, right? And I think even now, I mean, I have patients who have done orthodontics in their 60s and 70s and even
Wow.
80,
Wow.
Um, yeah, I mean, it does make a difference. And, every time they saw themselves in pictures, and their old friends would be like, where's your tooth? What's wrong with your tooth? Because it was set back and shadow. They're like, I want this tooth moved. And some of them don't even want it perfect, right? Like
Right.
too perfect is too perfect. They don't like that. But when you think about you think about, like I said, cleansability, oftentimes people's teeth look nice, but they don't contact very well, and
Right.
it can cause wear. And you do that for 30 years and you limit your choices. Dentistry is one of those things that the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets, right?
Gotcha.
So if you can put those teeth in better alignment, um, it really does, it makes your teeth last longer, right? And I am a big, like I said, if we can make your teeth last longer, I feel like I've done a good job, right?
Right. Exactly. Well, for me, as a kid, I was like one of the only kids that was thrilled to get braces.
Uh-huh.
And I was teased. I had buck teeth and space in between and I mean it was brutal. And
Yeah.
so but I only needed it on my top teeth. My
Hmm.
bottom teeth were perfectly straight. And then got the braces off after 3 years. And there are other issues, but all of a sudden my bottom teeth started to overlap. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on? And I didn't want to get braces again, but they had to take out the wisdom teeth
Wisdom
because they
teeth.
were pushing. And
Yeah.
so I wasn't going to get braces again, but my bottom teeth overlap now. And I'm like, I was so mad because they were perfectly straight. And I didn't realize when I talk my bottom teeth shows. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, if I would have realized that, maybe I would have done something. But I'm so mad because like I said, they were perfectly straight.
Right. Right.
And the wisdom teeth didn't get pulled out in time.
Right.
And they didn't know what was going on, and so I
Right.
was so mad. But in general, it's like it is what it is, and that's what I'm doing. So
Right.
that's part of the problem. But I can't go back. But I'm like, oh man. um
Right.
so I hear you.
So one of the other things, so we talked about the clear aligners, we talked about the sleep apnea stuff, so we can make sleep apnea appliances. Um, One of the other things that we can do are Botox and fillers. Um, So that's kind of a fun thing.
So
Not
what
for
is
everybody, but
right?
with
What's
that
that as far as dentistry? What's the connection
the
there?
connection there. So if you, well, we can do it for pain, right? So if you, we can do it in your temples, and we can do it in these so that you don't grind so hard, and even down in the neck, in the back of the neck and the trapezius muscles, and the back of the head. We can even do that too. Um, you know, so the lower jaw is held on with all soft tissue, right? There's no like bony connection that locks it down, right? So if you are grinding or you have an accident or a fall or you get sick or you have a surgery where they intubate you, that can really wreak some havoc on those muscles, right? And can actually change the way your teeth come together. And so if you can relax them, and night guards, that kind of thing, all that stuff is nice to help to relax things. It really, helps with oral facial pain. So,
Okay. I
yeah.
didn't know that connection,
Yeah.
so thanks for explaining that. And how about things like teeth whitening
Oh,
popular?
yeah. Yeah, we've got a lot of teeth. We got a couple different teeth whitening options. We've got the old syringes that you squirt into your retainers or um your uh bleach trays.
Yep.
We also have an in-office whitening that we can do, which is nice because whitening will, temporarily give you some sensitivity. So
Sensitivity. OMG.
yeah,
Ah, I
no
hate
matter.
it.
Well, and if you are real sensitive, we've got stuff that we can give you ahead of time that you can
Right.
use for a couple weeks that will help that.
That's fluoride stuff.
Well, yeah, it is fluoride stuff, but there's
Yeah.
also one, it's called MI paste, which is not as heavy duty on the fluoride. It's got some other things in it that help to decrease your sensitivity, not just the fluoride.
Yep.
Um, and then we've got these strips that are actually really great. I always was kind of a white strip hater. They're just
Yeah.
big and they stay around and they burn your gums. And
Yeah.
we've got some now that it's an opalescence brand, which is kind of the gold standard in
I
bleaching.
know it well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and they're fantastic. I am amazed at how well those things work. And it's like 10 sets for $90. It's not even super
I kind
expensive.
of like the night white ones better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that I've
The
tried both of them.
syringes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes
Well,
the night ones cause a lot of sensitivity. If you're
exactly.
wearing it overnight and versus if
Exactly.
you did 15 to 30 minutes in the day, you can get a good result still.
Yep. I
So,
know.
and right, yeah, because I mean that was one of the things that turned people away, and the companies have really um tried to figure out how they can alleviate some of that stuff.
But I want results fast and quick because it is the sensitivity. Well, I
Right.
remember that dentist back then. I didn't realize it, but he was just like, "Oh, what do you want? Chiclets or whatever, like for my teeth." But I
Yeah,
didn't know
some
what
people
those
do.
were. I didn't
Right,
know what
right.
those were. If I would have said yes.
Yes, give
I would.
me those.
I didn't realize what he was saying, but I'm like, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I think yeah, teeth are, I mean, you get judged, like you said, and it
Yes.
does, like, people will make fun of you. And my son, he fell when he was little, and his front tooth came in like this. And
Oh,
every time he would fall, I was like, oh my gosh, I bet he busted that tooth right off.
right,
And eventually we got the braces, and,
right.
but he was, he would smile funny over it, or,
Exactly. Yeah.
he'd smile and this cute little tooth stuck out. I thought it was the cutest thing ever. And he hated
That's because
it.
you're his mama.
Right, right. I'm like, oh, look, Jackie just got his little funky tooth hanging out there. I just loved it. But yeah,
I think they would call it snaggletooth.
yeah, yeah. That's not very nice though, is it?
No, it's not.
I think beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess, and I'm just a tooth person, so I like teeth.
Well, I think like regardless of what you look like or what's going on in your life, if you can smile, and
Yeah.
especially if your smile is nice, but
Mhm.
it, that's a, but I think once we lose our smile, we
Mhm. Yeah.
lose our connection
Mhm.
to others, to ourselves, and it, being that kid that was
Mhm.
teased and ugly and all that stuff, I mean, I would not smile.
Mhm.
And that was a disservice, I think, for me and those around us. So I hate for anybody to feel that
Right.
way and not do it,
Right.
which is another reason why I love you guys.
Well, thank you, because we don't hear that enough. I'm just
I,
kidding.
yeah,
I do think, one of the most satisfying things, because when you don't smile and you, people think you're mean, like I can
exactly.
remember early on in my career, when we were at a restaurant, my friend said, God, she could smile more. And I was like, her teeth are so bad. She's got cavities in all of her front teeth. They're just holes in there. That's why she's trying to hide it.
Right.
I'm like, be nice.
Right. And you're
Um,
absolutely right. It does, that's a different demeanor. And
yeah.
again, we have to take everybody, not for face value, pun
Mhm.
intended, I guess. Um, it is, we never know what's going on with somebody in general. So when we
Yeah.
judge right away,
Right.
it's unfair. It
Right.
happens for
But it's
sure.
reality.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
reality. And I think one of the things I get real excited about is when we fix someone's teeth and they smile more. And
Yes,
what I really like is people, I'm like, did anybody notice? Because you don't really want them to notice
right.
teeth. You want them to be like, what's different about you?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's where you want to land, not, oh,
Yes.
let's, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. There's just something about a smile that um you can't put your hands on in general, but it's just regardless of who you are, what you look
Yeah.
like, you're just radiant when you
Yeah.
smile.
Right. And
And I
if your teeth don't hurt, if your mouth isn't
right,
hurting
right,
and it doesn't smell bad,
right,
even if they aren't perfectly aligned, you're
right,
going to feel more confident and be able to smile bigger. And that just, people's perception of you will, um, be different, they'll think
right,
you're warmer and more approachable and right or wrong.
right,
And I know that people, dentistry is expensive and this and that. We do have financing options and stuff like that. And we really try and work their insurance, um, to get them to cover as much. I will say insurance is one of the tough things nowadays. Um, I mean, that's no secret, whether it's
no,
just general healthcare or dental. Um, Dental insurance has always kind of been an add-on.
yeah,
Companies buy the health insurance and then they throw in the dental insurance. And dental insurance coverage, usually you get $1,000 to $2,000 a year, right? That's kind of
yep,
standard. That's been the same for 50 years, right?
right,
Like that has not changed in forever. And, insurance is not there to they aren't gonna they don't care if your teeth are good or not, you know what I
right,
mean?
right,
And you really have to think of it more as kind of a coupon. Like I said, if we can get them to cover the maximum
right,
amount,
right.
then I think that is a win, you know what I mean? But dental insurance is tough these days, and because of that, we do have a lot of financing options and things like that too.
Right.
So,
And I think because it is like an add-on,
mhm.
a lot of people then don't go to the dentist or
Right,
don't go regularly because it's another expense, it's an add-on,
right.
which is a disservice to
Mhm.
the healthcare, to the
Yeah,
everybody around.
right.
I totally on board with that.
Yeah. Well, and some of the other things you can do to kind of control the costs are phase the treatment. We don't have to do everything right now. Like right now, it does not have to all be done. Maybe this is where we start, maybe next year, a few months down the line, we can phase it and get everything fixed.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so
Well, cool. So now, one last question. And it might be cool, may not be. So you remodeled the Wilmette location and you said you found lots of things that you haven't seen in a long time,
yeah,
or maybe there are things that you've never seen and said, what the
yeah,
heck?
yeah.
So what's the most surprising thing that you might have discovered there that that's old, and then
Yeah.
what is the coolest piece of technology you have? So I'm going both
Okay.
ends of the spectrum
So
here.
I think probably well, and this may not even make sense to people. So, okay, I'll tell you this. I found bottles of mercury. I
Okay.
found hazmat. I'm like, I don't know what to do with these. And so I like liquid mercury still in the packages and
Wow.
everything. Yeah, I mean it's stable. It's fine, but like nobody will take it. I don't know what to do with it. Maybe after this, I'll get calls and people will be like, I want it. I don't even know, like, I don't know if it's legal to sell it. Like I said, I called the health
Right.
people. I was like, I found this and I don't really know what to do with it. Um,
Hazmat didn't tell you anything what to do with it?
they didn't know. They didn't know
Oh
what to
my
do with
God.
it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. We had 15 file cabinets of paper charts. The oldest birth date was 1905.
Wow.
Isn't that
Was it
crazy?
was it on parchment paper that was falling
Yeah,
apart?
right. Well, I'll tell you
And the
what, those were
quill?
pre-glove days. And so as we went through them, I'm like, okay, you got to wear gloves to go through these, because we had to go through and like, shred them and
Right,
dispose of them properly, all of that, right?
right.
Um, So I would say probably that. I mean, rotary phones, right? When I got this place, they didn't even have internet to the front desk. So I got it in
Wow.
um yeah, end of September 2023. So it's been an extensive uh project. Um, so the coolest piece of technology, I would say a couple of things. I would say the scanner and the laser. So the laser I really like to treat. We can even treat cold sores with it.
Oh, right, yep.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't come back in the same spot, and it'll
Or
make,
or the ulcers that you get. They're not cold sores, but it's like, where did this come from?
yeah, the canker sores is what you're talking about, the aphthous ulcers. Yeah. And man, they just hurt so bad that it's nice to, you can really take the pain out, and those cold sores, they just get so ugly, and so uncomfortable, and you open your mouth and it cracks open, and we can kind of make those dry up and not be so ooey gooey.
Right.
Um, the other thing that I think is great about it, so back in the day when we treated periodontal disease or gum disease, we would give people antibiotics for 30, 60, 90 days. I mean, can you
Yeah,
imagine somebody telling you, I want you to take, you would never, right?
right.
So
And then you'd be resistant if you really needed it for other things.
yeah, well, it just nobody ever took it long enough to make it
Right.
work, and it wasn't as effective. So, the idea is to kill the bacteria or decrease the bad bacteria. Well, with the laser, you kill it on the spot. The other thing too is these deep cleanings used to hurt, right? They were very painful. Well, you go in with that laser, and it just really cleans up the tissue, and it kind of cauterizes the nerve endings. I mean, it just makes it so there's very little discomfort afterwards. And then the scanner, everybody hates those impressions, right? Like they suffocate you, and then you stick them in there, you wait for 5 minutes, you pull it out, and oh, we got to
You
take it again,
moved. Yeah, you
right?
moved. That gooey pasty stuff, that the
Yeah,
pink stuff that goes, yeah, those were like, how long is this?
yeah, right. And so the scanner is much better. I would say probably the third piece of technology, and this has been around a while, like I've never not had this type of technology. Although when I moved over here, or when I acquired this second place, they didn't have the digital x-rays. Everybody worries about the x-rays. Well, dental
Exposure.
x-rays, yeah, and it is cumulative, right? Dental x-rays are such a tiny amount of radiation. You get more going outside in the sun. You
Yeah,
get more from a banana or flying or smoking. Like it is, you know, the technology of digital x-rays really makes everything safer.
right.
Yeah. And I
Cool.
mean, you think of the size, it's a very small size that you're taking versus like a chest x-ray or an x-ray of your arm.
Right.
I know people get afraid of our x-rays, but with the digital technology, it's just not something you need to be nervous about.
Well, whenever you come with that big vest, weighted
Right.
vest,
Well,
that's
and
just
now we're not
scary in
supposed to
general.
use them. So the physicists are the ones who look at radiation, right? And their professional organization, who's it escapes me right now. They came out actually several years ago, and the American Dental Association got on board just less than a year ago, I think, where that lead apron that we put on you,
Uh-huh.
they think it traps the radiation inside, but you're better off that we shouldn't be using them.
Oh my
We don't
goodness.
even use them because that's the current recommendation. And I mean, like I said, those physicists have said that they came out with that information many years ago, and the ADA just kind of got
Whenever I get my x-rays every year, it's once a year.
yeah once a
They
year.
put those on me every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you know, it's not necessary. Honestly, it's such a small amount of radiation,
Right,
but you always want to reduce it, right?
right.
So
Okay,
every little bit helps.
Dr. Julia, how can people find you?
Oh, what is it?
What's the best one?
The downtowndentistcs.com. I gotta think, what is my website? It's been a long time since I've had that website. We are, I mean, Facebook, and you can get on there and find us there, and Instagram, but you can even text the office. You can call our office. The number is 719-260-0216. And then 719-633-3711. And either of those numbers, and you can get one of the offices. So press 2 for Tejon, 3 for Wilmette. And you can even text us.
And that if they go to the website, they can find the number, right? If
Yeah,
they,
yep. In fact, they can even submit a form and we'll call them back. I'll tell you on those, they don't get called back as quickly. Um, but yeah, we'll call them.
okay, great. It's like when you call the the Colorado Springs Revenue or something like that,
Oh,
and they
good
go,
Lord. No, it's not
okay,
like that.
do you
No,
want to, it'll be 3 hours, but do you want us to just call you back when somebody is
right?
available?
Yeah. No, it's not like that. Yeah. But yeah, you can even text us. I know a lot of people, that's
Yep,
their
like to text now.
place.
That's my favorite mode of
Yeah,
communication too.
right.
Okay, so it was such a pleasure getting to know you and more about you, Dr. Julia. You're very fun.
Well, thank you. You're very fun too. So you made it easy. So
Yeah, so
well, harmless.
just with that, when you go see Dr. Julia, just know that she knows how to have fun and knows her craft. So you're good in general. She's got you
Right.
covered.
I also want to just give a shout out. I have an associate dentist, Dr. Zarug, and he's really fantastic too. He's different than I am. He's quieter. I'm louder than he is. So he has a lot of experience and he's a fantastic dentist. So
How many staff do you have?
I have two hygienists. Let's see, I've got about 10.
Okay.
And we'll grow. I'm in a growing phase. I bought this place in 2023 at the end of 2023, but I had to do a huge remodel and I really wasn't able to see patients until June of 25. So we're still building up. So I'm hoping by the end of the year I'll get another dentist
Great.
and a
Do you
couple more.
guys kind of go from office
Face
to
to
office,
face.
or you stay
Yeah,
in?
I'm over at Tejon on Mondays, and then I'm over at Wilmette Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he's got the opposite schedule. Monday at Wilmette, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at Tejon.
Okay,
So
great.
we got coverage 5 days a week.
Right. Okay, wonderful. So, for those of you watching, if you want someone who understands how your dental health connects to your overall wellness, you can find Dr. Julia at the downtowndentistcs.com. And if you'd like more conversations with faces and voices that make our community unique, subscribe to Colorado Springs Town Tidings at cos.towntidings.com. I'm Sandy Bobal Zuniga. Thanks for spending time with us today, and I'll meet you back here next week for another local story worth knowing. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Sandy.